doesn't seem to be working. Yeah. So we got one screen, and we got an hour.
I'm sure the women
So
do not want this.
Inshallah, we're going to
I
go
will
quick.
speak to each of them if you like. The men can look somewhere else, but I want everyone to see both of us and see the screens. Okay? It's okay. I got it. He's gonna move it.
Okay. So just so everybody knows, there's a QR code here. If you want the copies of the slides, you can have them. You just need to fill that out and say, I want the slides, and we'll send them to you, okay? All right, so...
Is this working? Can I talk? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I talk right in here.
I would have put it a little higher.
Okay, okay.
And you can put that in your pocket, sorry.
Okay, okay. Like this?
Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay, good.
All right, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Jim Hacking. This is my lovely wife, Amani Hacking. We are immigration lawyers. I took Shahada in 1998, June 6, 1998. So next year, I'll have been Muslim more than I was not Muslim, because I was 28 when I converted to Islam at the West Pine Masjid. So is it too quiet? Can you guys hear us? Amani?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
You
Can
do
you,
this one?
yeah, just say hi.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Amani Ragab Hacking. This is, as Jim just mentioned, this is my husband. Jim and I went to law school together many, many years ago. We've been lawyers for a long time now, over 27 something years.
Yeah.
So we've been doing lots of different, all of our time, daily and exclusively, and it is changing daily and exclusively. So I'm grateful to be here today, talk to you about some of those changes and why you should be paying attention. Okay.
We're going to go really fast, and we're going to try to leave time at the end for questions.
Can everyone hear this?
You can hear okay?
Uh-oh.
Everyone can hear okay? All right, we'll try to talk a little bit louder. Okay, so these are the 12 things Muslims need to know about immigration in 2025, okay? All right, so number one, there's a new sheriff in town. You might recognize him. Things have changed. Every day, there are people in the Trump administration who are sitting around thinking about how to make life harder for immigrants. They ran on a campaign of stopping illegal immigration, but really what they want to do is stop legal immigration by people from brown countries. That's really what this is all about, and that's what they're after. So we are going to spend a lot of time in slide number 2, which is trying to teach you how to understand the immigration system. Amani, do you want to walk through the...
You start.
Okay, so this is a professor in Minnesota who explains things. I think in order for us to have a good conversation, we need to understand how immigration works in the United States. I always talked about it to a big building, a hotel, and there's different levels of the hotel. And so the first level is immigration detention. So that's people who are being detained and they're facing deportation. Above them are people who are here in unauthorized status. So there are two kinds of people in the United States who are here in unauthorized status. One group of people are people who are what's called entered without inspection. We need a light on, I think, so it can film. So entered without inspection are people who came across the border, didn't have a visa, and did not interact with CBP. They snuck into the country. So that's about 2/3 of the millions of people who are here out of status. The other 1/3 of people are people who had a visa and didn't leave when they were supposed to. Either they stopped going to school, their visit ended, and they were supposed to go back years ago. There's millions and millions of people in the United States who came on a visa and didn't leave on time. So that's the two groups of people in the unauthorized status. This next group, the lobby, so think of the lobby of a hotel. This is people that are trying to get admission into the United States. So there's people who are actually physically in the United States, but they haven't been legally admitted to the United States. So that would include all the dreamers. So the kids who are here on DACA, who have deferred action for childhood arrivals, they are physically present in the United States, but they don't really have status. Then we have all the people who come on non-immigrant visas. So those are hotel rooms. So that's people who came to the United States, they went to the embassy, they got a visa, they came to the United States, and they decided to come visit. And the main types of non-immigrant visas are visit visas, student visas, F1 student visas, J1 student visas, and some employment visas. So however long you're in the United States in non-immigrant status, it doesn't give you any right to stay here long term. It's not a path towards lawful permanent residence. And lawful permanent residence is what you have to be before you become a citizen. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about asylees and refugees. So being in St. Louis, and because of the work of the International Institute, you guys know that we have a lot of refugees in St. Louis. So anywhere there's been a war in the last 50 years, there's lots of those people in the United States. So first was the Vietnamese, then the Iraqis, the Bosnians. That's why we have so many Bosnians here, because the International Institute helped bring a lot of them here. And so anywhere there's been a war, there's a lot of those people in the United States. So once you come as a refugee, a year later you can apply for lawful permanent resident status. The other group of people in the floor of refuge are people who came to the United States in whatever status they came. They entered without inspection, they came across the border, they came on a student visa and overstayed, whatever it is. They applied for what's called asylum. They fear going back home to their home country.
And there's a whole slide on that, too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about asylum and refugees and all that stuff. So people who fear persecution, they can apply for asylum, talk about that. And then we'll talk about lawful permanent residence, the 4 main ways that you can get lawful permanent residence, the 4 main ways you can get a green card in the United States. And then after that, once you become a lawful permanent resident, you can apply for citizenship, which is what the professor likens to the top floor. You become a U.S. citizen, you can vote, you can sponsor more people to come to the United States, you can sponsor your mom or dad or your brother or sister. And so that's sort of the top rung of the immigration ladder. So like I said, if you're here on a non-immigrant visa, there are 4 main ways to get a green card. Do you want to just name them?
Sure. So has anyone heard of the diversity visa? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Never heard of the diversity visa? Nobody? Okay. Okay, so a couple people have. All right, so that's a way for the U.S. to have more diversity. We're not as interested in diversity right now, but this still exists, and it's limited, but you have to pay attention to which country and the timeline, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, asylum, which Jim just mentioned. We're going to give more details about asylum. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that as well. Then immigrant visas through family, so family-based sponsorship. So if your spouse sponsored you or if your parents sponsored you, so that's very common, and we spend a lot of time doing that. And then, of course, we have employment or self-petition. You want to talk about diversity?
Okay, so the diversity visa, they set aside 50,000 visas every year for people from underrepresented countries. So not China, not Pakistan, not
India,
but Burundi, Japan. It's the 20 most overrepresented countries, they don't get diversity visas. So if you have family members and you're from an eligible country, we'll show you the countries that aren't eligible in a minute. If you have family members that aren't eligible, or that are eligible, and they're always bothering you saying, bring me to the United States, they should apply for the diversity visa, okay? Now last time Trump slowed down the processing of all these, but there's still people that are getting their green cards every year through the diversity visa. So if you have, if you get selected in the lottery, you apply every October. Between October 5th and November 5th, you apply for the diversity visa. You find out the next May if you get selected. And then the next year, you start processing your visa. If you're here in the United States in lawful status, if you're here like as a student, you can do the diversity visa and you can get your green card if you get all your process done by the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th. These are the countries that are not eligible for the diversity visa: Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, China, Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, India, Jamaica, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, South Korea, Venezuela, and Vietnam.
but everyone else is.
Right, so if you're here in the United States and you're invalid, if you're an international student and you're studying, you can apply for the diversity visa, and if you get selected, and I know it sounds like a real long shot, there's 1 million people that apply for 50,000 slots, but every other year we get 1 or 2 of these cases in our little office. So we get people that this actually works, and we have clients who've actually gotten their green cards and become citizens through the diversity visa.
It's actually amazing. It can work. You just have to pay attention and be vigilant about the time and what you have to do online and make sure you meet the criteria.
Okay, so in our office, Amani handles a lot of our asylum stuff, so I'm going to let her talk about that.
So asylum, these are some of the most rewarding cases that I have, and they're also some of the most difficult cases that we have. So in order to be eligible for asylum, to apply for asylum in the United States, you want to file as soon as possible, right? Because for America to say that you are eligible for asylum, no, right? That if you go back to your home country, that you will be persecuted or you've already been persecuted, okay? So you either have past persecution or you have fear of future persecution. So I have many clients, particularly women, who have already been persecuted for various things. And in some countries, they torture particularly women, but they torture men too. So what is torture and what is the basis of the persecution? It has to be based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group, okay? So I have a lot of times people say, oh, my uncle did this to me, or my cousin wants me to do this. You really have to link it to the government. The government is going to persecute you or has already persecuted you on one of these 5 bases. And that's what I have to prove in order to win asylum. Okay?
Do you want to talk about the categories of asylum cases that you've had? Or the ones
You
have
mean
the
like
most of?
race, religion,
Yeah.
or like examples?
Yeah.
So some of the, we just had a really tough case from Sierra Leone, a woman who was subjected to FGM. I don't know if you want to talk about anybody know what FGM is?
Female genital mutilation.
Yes, so that's something that happens in some of these countries, and we were able to prove that that was torture, that is considered torture in the United States, and that was past persecution, and if she were sent back, other things would happen to her, okay, all because of her gender. So that's one example. We had a recent case out of Cameroon several months ago where it was a gentleman who, I don't know if you know about the Cameroonian government, but that president is like in his 90s. He's been there for many, many, many decades. And our client was arrested, tortured, persecuted because he spoke up against this president, okay? And then he found his way to the United States. He filed for asylum, and we were able to prevail on that case because we were able to show persecution for his political opinion, okay? But these are tough cases, but we file them. We file them, we get proof, and we get officers that listen to us, and we show our evidence, and we're able to show that if this person returns to their home country, they will be persecuted. And America doesn't want that, okay? Now, all that being said,
Amani's right. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Amani's right. You want to apply right away, but you have to apply within 1 year. If you don't apply for 1 year, they can deny you, even if you have the strongest asylum case of all time.
Unless you can show change of circumstances. So again, we don't want to create more hurdles to your case. Asylum is already difficult. So the sooner you file, the sooner you show proof of what that past persecution is or the fear of the future persecution and it's linked to the government, the closer you'll be to be able to prove your case, okay?
If you get asylum, then you can apply for your spouse, and your children under the age of 21 can be included in your application. Sometimes your wife might have the stronger case, and you're the ride along, the derivative. So that's part of the lawyering that we do. One of the things that you really don't want to do is file a very frivolous or thin asylum case. So there are lawyers out there, and there are fake lawyers out there who will say, I can get you a work card, just sign this piece of paper. And you would be amazed at how many people sign made-up asylum cases because they think that's how they get their work card, because that's all that they know. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, okay? So you want to work with attorneys who know what they're doing, who do this a lot. And I'm not trying to convince you to hire us. I'm just saying, be very, very careful about where you get your immigration advice. There's lots of bad information on the internet. There's lots of bad people acting like lawyers. They're called notarios or form fillers. You should never do business with them because you would not believe how much they screw up people's cases. They make stuff up. They add stuff. It's really terrible.
And the problem is everything that you do from the minute you enter the United States or even before you enter the United States is a part of your immigration history. So everything that you do, every piece of paper you ever filed. I can't tell you how many people say to me, I never read that. I don't know that. What do you mean?
Somebody else filled that out for me.
Yeah, somebody filled that out for me. Well, is this your name? Yes. Did you hit submit? Yes. Then they believe that you authorized all of it.
And they don't care if somebody else filled it. And that might very well be true. It just doesn't matter. It's your case.
You're legally responsible for anything that you represent about yourself, about coming to the United States.
So when you want to talk about the difference between affirmative and defensive asylum?
Yes. So when you come to the United States, so for you to file for asylum, you have to be in the United States, okay? You can't file for asylum from somewhere else. You have to be physically in the United States. And so if you're in the United States and you file on your own, right, that's called affirmative asylum. You raise your hand, you say, hey, look at me, I'm scared to go back home, here's why, please, I need asylum in the United States. As opposed to if you are taken into detention or you are put into removal in front of an immigration judge who wants to remove you, and then you can still raise your asylum claim then, but that's called defensive asylum. So then you're trying to defend against the removal and the deportation by saying, please don't send me back home, please let me stay in the United States, I have a valid asylum claim, okay? So you can do it both ways. Sometimes people don't have a chance to do the affirmative, they end up in removal and they have to do it in removal right away and it's defensive. But if, you can have two bites at the apple, if you will, if you do it sooner.
And asylum isn't, oh, I really like America better than I like my home country. Or, oh, I have a better job opportunity here. Asylum is, if I go back home, they're going to kill me, they're going to torture me, they're going to throw me in jail because of one of those 5 categories that Amani went through.
Or they've already killed someone in my family, or already tortured me, or tortured someone in my family, or tortured someone I know because of one of these 5 categories.
In the United States, the third way that people get their green cards is through family. So a U.S. citizen who's over the age of 21 can sponsor their spouse, can sponsor their mother and father, and can sponsor their under 21-year-old children. There are an unlimited number of those visas available every year. So if someone's a U.S. citizen, they want to sponsor their mom or dad, their spouse, or their children, they can do that, and there's no waiting line, there's no backlog, there's no cap on that.
Except the administrative process.
Yeah, the process just has to work its way through.
Which could take a year or two, yeah.
For everybody else, there's a cap, and what that means is there's a backlog. So the other categories of people that can get green cards through family include the brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens, the over 21-year-old children of U.S. citizens, the spouses of lawful permanent residents, the children of lawful permanent residents. If they're over 21, they have to be unmarried, and if they're under 21, they can process along with the spouse. Does anybody know how long it takes to sponsor your brother or 2 years? And Mexico's like 25 years, realistically. So whether these things are even going to exist, whether or not I'm going to be here to help you process that, Allahu Alam, right? Only Allah knows, right? So literally, right now, they are working on cases that were filed in 2002. 2002, probably before some of you were even born, right? So every year, though, some very optimistic brother comes to the office and says, I want to sponsor for my brother. I want to bring them here from India. Okay, we'll do it, but it's really, really slow.
Well, we just filed the I-130.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get you kind of get the stamp to stand in line. Then 20 years later, you can use something with that I-130. But you can always have the I-130.
The other thing about immediate relatives, remember, immediate relatives have that special preference. They're the parents, the spouses, and children of U.S. citizens. If they have been in the United States for a long time without status, then their overstay is forgiven. If they've been in the United States and been working without permission, that is also forgiven. So this is why marriage-based cases are scrutinized so hard, because they think that some people get married to clean up their immigration history, right? So right now, we're having cases where somebody came to the I was talking to a lady the other day. She came to the United States in 1999. She had a baby in the United States in 2000. She has been here ever since.
And never left.
Never left, never got caught, never got in trouble. Now her child is now 21 and is sponsoring her for a green card. So that whole overstay will be forgiven as long as she never said she was a U.S. citizen, or as long as she was inspected when she came in. She's got all the right things, so she can actually get a green card. So that's why family-based things are scrutinized very heavily. Right now, if you wanted to bring your wife here from Pakistan, it's 2 years, just because of the processing delays, and the embassy in Islamabad is so slow, right? Same with India, right? So it takes a long time. How long did it take you to come? I think it was about a year, right? 6 months, yeah. So one day, I swear to God, wallahi, one day I filed a fiancé case, and the fiancé was in my office 61 days after we started the case. That case right now would take 2.5 years, and that's without any delays, it's just how it is. So that's family. And then employment. So everybody will call me up all the time and they say, I want to sponsor this guy to work in my restaurant. He's a very hard worker. I want to get him a green card. And I say, okay, is he in status? No, he's not in status. Well, you have to be in status in order to get an employment green card. And if you want to sponsor someone from overseas, the process is going to take like 4 years. So employment is another way that people come to the United States. It's very hard, it's very slow, and as you might know, now H-1Bs are sort of under attack by Trump, so it's only going to get harder and harder to come on the employment route.
And those are specialty visas with high education, right? I mean, that's different.
So we need to talk about immigrant intent. Do you want to talk about immigrant intent?
So this is a really important legal term, right? So when you come to the United States on a visitor visa or a student visa, what are you telling the U.S. government? You're telling them, I'm coming here to visit someone. I'm coming to the United States on a tourist visa to be a tourist. I'm not coming to live in the United States. I'm not coming to work in the United States. I'm not coming to do something inconsistent with that non-immigrant intent and that non-immigrant visa. So that's really important. People say, well, how do they know my intent? Your actions are your intent. When you came to the United States on your student visa, did you go to school? No. Well, why did you tell them you were going to go to school if you weren't going to go to school? Well, I wanted to go to school, but then I couldn't find the school.
I didn't have enough money, but you promised the State Department you had enough money.
Yeah, you told the State Department you had money. So there are all these things, so you have to be really careful with your intent. Your niyyah, of course, as Muslims, we know niyyah is very important. What was our intention when we came to the masjid today, right? What was our intention before our prayer? So this is legal intention, right? They want to know, how did you act, how did you behave with respect to the intention that you told the government, right? So then, of course, there's some people who the intention is to come and live in the United States, but then they come and then guess what? They go back home and they spend most of the time back home. Maybe they spend 3 months in the United States. Well, why would you do that, right? If you told the government you intended to live in the United States, you have to live in the United States most of the time, and then you have to visit other places, but you can't have it the other way around. You can't have a green card and want a couple months out of the year, but really live somewhere else, okay? Intent is a very important part of the legal immigration process.
And once you show intent, so if let's say you marry someone overseas and they raise their hand and they say, I want to get an immigrant visa to come to the United States. After that, they're not going to get a visit visa to the United States. So people will call me and say, Jim, I have an I-130 pending for my wife. I've been trying to bring her here. She wants to just come for a visit, then she's going to go back. Well, she's demonstrated immigrant intent, and so therefore they're not going to give her a non-immigrant visa. Similarly, remember I told you about the good brothers that come and say, I want to sponsor my brother to come 14 years from now? Well, then it's hard for him to get a visit visa because he's demonstrated immigrant intent. He's made it clear that he wants to come stay in the United States, not just to come and visit.
I mean, what more can we say about this, right? It's broken, nobody wants to fix it, and they're actually making it worse every day. They're making it worse. It's
harder. Yeah, and we're going to get to all the ways that they've changed things over time.
Yes.
But the agency itself, actually, this will sound strange, the Trump people are actually speeding cases up. They're actually improving things at immigration, but there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that they want to deny as many cases as possible so that they put those people into removal. But cases are moving faster. Under Biden, it took 1.5 years to get your spouse interview. Now it's taking...
I will say that's the irony, is that I don't think they've improved it so much as because there are less cases and less people filing, the cases that we are filing are moving faster at USCIS. So we're getting interviews 3 to 4 or 5 months after I file, where it used to be 1.5 years. So for whatever reason, some cases are moving faster. The ones I want to move fast, move slowly. The ones I want to move slowly, move fast. I can't control it. That's what the government does.
One mistake that a lot of people make when they think about immigration is, oh, well, there's a couple of mistakes. One is, I'm just going to file it and take my chance and see what happens, okay? And then if I screw it up, then I'll get a lawyer later, right? That's one mistake they make. Another mistake they make is, oh, only people that have fake cases need lawyers, right? Only people that have a fraudulent asylum, that's the only ones who use lawyers, right? And then the other mistakes they make are, I'm going to see what's the least amount of work I can do to get this case approved and just get it under the wire to get it approved. These are all wrong. And the biggest mistake is this one. They think that the government is a fair judge and is going to treat them fairly and is looking for ways to approve your case. That is the exact opposite thing. Immigration is a blood sport. You win or lose. There's no tying, there's no mediation. You either win or you lose, and they're trying to deny as many people as possible, which we'll talk about in the later slides. Okay. So CARRP, let's talk about CARRP. So when I first became Muslim in 1998, the Muslims were always complaining because their citizenship cases were taking too long. And then Amani and I went to Umrah in 2001. We came back on September 4th, 2001, 7 days before 9/11. Everyone started asking me to talk to the white people, the Christians, about Islam because I was a brand new Muslim and I could sort of talk the talk, and so we did that. And then people were always asking me to help them with their immigration stuff, which is why I opened the firm in 2008, because so many Muslims tried to get me to help them with their immigration case. I would say I'm a different kind of lawyer. They'd say, we don't want that. We want you to do immigration. So I went around to all the masjids, including this very masjid right here, and I said, what's the biggest pain point that you have? And they said, I've been waiting for my citizenship 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. There was a lady from Bosnia who'd been waiting 9 years for her citizenship. So I signed up 36 Muslims from all the different masjids, and I tried to make a class action. I tried to say, I want to represent all the Muslims whose cases have been delayed more than 1 year, and the judge said no. But I charged everyone $250, and we filed a lawsuit, and within 6 months, 34 of the 36 had become citizens, right? So then I did another one, right? And so since then, I've sued them 2,000 times, one person at a time, to get people their immigration benefits, citizenship, green cards, asylum. It's literally my favorite thing to do. I'll get these Muslims who've been waiting for asylum since 2015, and I'll say, I can get you an interview, are you ready? And they'll say, no, I'm not ready, so we'll get them ready, and then we file the lawsuit, and then they get their interview, and then it works. So we had a fellow from Pakistan who came here to get medical treatment for his family. He had 2 kids with pretty severe health issues, and he'd also worked as an immigration officer in Pakistan, and he was afraid to go back. He was a Shia. And so we filed for asylum for him. His case was on file for 7 years. 7 years. 9 years. And we said, well, Biden ain't going to be around much longer. You might want to sue now. So he sued like last September. He got his interview and he got his asylum. And now he's applying for his green card. And 5 years from now, he'll be able to become a citizen. So CARRP, in that lawsuit with the 36 people, and in all of the 2,000 lawsuits that I have filed, it always mentions this thing called CARRP. It's the Controlled Application Review and Resolution Program. It's a real thing. You can look it up, CARRP. It started under Bush, it went through Obama, went through Trump, went through Biden, went through Trump, and it is a program that was designed to slow down immigration by Muslims to the United States. It's still there. It's still something I sue them over, and it's not going away. So they think that if they slow down your case for citizenship, then that means you're not going to be able to sponsor your mom or dad or your brother or sister, and it's going to overall immigration to the United States. So, Amani's right. The 2 main questions we ask right now of the Muslims are, have you ever been stopped at the airport? Do you ever get stuck in secondary inspection? Did you ever have the 4 S's on your ticket? That's always, have you ever met with the FBI? Those are all signs of CARRP. Those are all signs that your immigration case is being delayed because of an illegal reason. So when we sue them, they don't want a judge to say that CARRP is illegal, so they just give our clients the benefits and on we all go. Okay, so criminal stuff. So, you want to talk about it?
Yes. So, okay, having any criminal charges in the United States, that is a problem, okay? Any sort of criminal interaction is a problem. I mean, I have a case right now just for citizenship, young Arab male, and just a couple traffic tickets, okay? But probation, supervision, a fine, and you would think he committed some serious crime. Most traffic violations are actually not criminal in the United States. They're actually civil, they're quasi-criminal, but they're mostly civil, unless it's a DUI or some other very serious criminal thing. So they're paying really close attention to this, and I have lots of people who are like, oh no, I've never had any interaction with the police. I've never had any interaction with the courts. And then I'll ask them a few more questions. They're like, yeah, well, the judge said this and the judge said that.
That was dismissed.
Yeah, what do you mean the judge? You told me you never had any interactions with the police or with the courts. So people don't think deeply enough about, again, not just their immigration history, but really your traffic history, your criminal history in the United States. So you have to be very careful. You have to know what tickets you have. You have to know where you lived. You have to know what citations you had, what interactions with the police you've had. And you have to understand the implications of that if you're a green card holder versus a U.S. citizen. Completely different consequences.
And you know how we live in Missouri, and there are 50 states in this country. All 50 states have their own definitions of crime. And USCIS has its own federal definitions of crime. So just because you get a lawyer and they do a good job for you, if you were a citizen, they say, oh yeah, I'll just plead you out to this and you'll be fine. And they don't know, because they're not immigration attorneys, that what they're pleading you guilty to actually makes you deportable, right? So we can talk about shoplifting. So once a week, I get a call. Oh, Jim, you won't believe what happened. I was at Walmart. It's never Target, it's always Walmart. I put 24 things in my cart. I only paid for 22. And the 2 things I forgot to pay for happened to be the most expensive things that I didn't pay for. And people think that they've thought this defense up, that no one's ever heard of it before. I literally hear it once a week. Walmart probably hears it 5 times a day, and USCIS hears it all the time. So shoplifting is really, really important, because there's this law out now called Lake and Riley. If you're on a student visa, or if you're not here in really good status and you commit a shoplifting charge, they can deport you right then and there. They don't have to wait for anything. And they don't have to wait for your case to be over. And so if you get arrested, or if you know an immigrant who does get arrested, they should talk to an immigration attorney with the criminal defense attorney. They have to work together, because most criminal defense attorneys will just plead you out to something that's good for a citizen but not for an immigrant.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that's actually one of the scariest things ever as an immigration lawyer when the client says, oh yeah, the lawyer did a good job, here's what he did. Oh no, he didn't. He did not do a
Because
good
in
job.
immigration, every conviction is a conviction. Even if you got a great plea deal, even if you did probation and it went away, it's a conviction is a conviction is a conviction.
And even outside the conviction, an admission can also make you inadmissible to the United States. So not only do you have to be careful if it's a conviction, but even if you admitted certain things, okay?
This next slide is for the people that say, why don't these immigrants just get in line? Well, for many, many people, like all those people who entered without inspection, there is no line to get into. There's no fine to pay. There's no form to fill out. These people would all love to be able to get into status, but Congress hasn't changed the laws since 1996 when Democrat Bill Clinton signed the harshest immigration bill in 70 years, right? So we are living with the consequences of that bill, and Congress hasn't changed the law. We just have different presidents, right? So President Obama tries to treat immigrants with respect and in a kind way. President Trump comes back and tries to be mean to immigrants. Then Biden comes in, doesn't do anything. And then Trump comes back with Project 2025 and big plans on how to make life harder for immigrants. Okay, so a lot of people will call our office, they're on a non-immigrant visa. They think, I've entered on a B1, B2. Jim, I want to start a business, and I want to get an employment green card for me and my whole family, and I want to do it all in the next 3 months. Those days are over. It takes too long. USCIS will not allow it, so you can't really change your status in the United States anymore from one non-immigrant visa to another. You can't really get extension of status. If you come on a visit, they're going to expect you to leave within 6 months, like you're supposed to. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We have lots of ways for you to contact us. I'm going to put them all here at the end of the slides. Okay, so then you need to know about, remember we talked about sponsoring your brothers or sisters or your parents. You have to pay attention to the visa bulletin. So every month, the government puts out a list of which cases they're working on. So if you're a green card holder and you sponsored your spouse, those cases just jumped ahead by months. So now people can apply for benefits. So you need to understand that. And so these are some of the fast changes that have happened since President Trump came into office. I liken this to a big wall that's gone, it's an invisible wall that's going up around the United States. So people who are in the United States need to be careful not to leave the United States, and people who want to come into the United States are having a much harder time to come in. So of course, we all know about the Muslim ban 1, Muslim ban 2, Muslim ban 3. The Supreme Court said that it was okay for Trump to do a ban of people coming to the United States. This time, the ban is a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more careful, and one of the big carve-outs that is in this ban that wasn't in last ban is those immediate relatives, the parents, the spouses, and children of U.S. citizens, they can come to the United States. But all those other preference categories, the green card holders, brothers and sisters, there could be people who've been waiting for 15 years to bring their brother here from Iran, and because of Trump turning off the lights, saying we're not giving those visas, the Supreme Court says that's okay. All right. So some countries have big restrictions, some countries have total bans, some have limited bans.
And I don't think he's done.
I think with that he is.
We'll see.
Yeah, they're going to add and take people off. So there was a big situation this year where they revoked the visas of 5,000 international students. They ran their names through. Well, actually what happened was those guys were starting to feel frisky, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said, well, we're going to start punishing international students who are here who criticize Israel. And so we're going to start thinking about taking away their visas. And they said, well, literally, this is what happened in court. While we're at it, let's just go ahead and find any immigrant on a student visa who came to the United States and has had any interaction with law enforcement. So they ran everybody through this thing called the NCIC. It's a criminal database. And if you filed a police report, if you were the victim of a crime, or if you committed allegedly a crime,
Even just accused of a crime.
yeah, they terminated your visa and said you were going to have to leave the United States. So myself and other immigration lawyers around the country, remember I said I like to sue them? We sued them up and down in Washington, D.C., and we got them to back down. So the courts are still there to protect us unless we get to the Supreme Court, because then there's not going to be much protection. The Secretary of State is declaring all immigration, any issue related to immigration is a State Department function, because State Department functions are outside the review of the courts, and they're trying to do everything in secret and not let us see what they're doing. President Trump on Friday asked the Supreme Court to rule on whether his executive order banning birthright citizenship. You guys know that if you're born in the United States since the Civil War, if you're born in the United States, you're considered a U.S. citizen. President Trump thinks he can undo those years and decades of case law and rulings, and by an executive order sign a piece of paper that says that these people are no longer citizens. So he's trying to get his Supreme Court to rule on that. And that's another thing I really want to emphasize for you. For those of you who have taken the citizenship test and become citizens or studied American lawmaking, how it works, we need to remember something, because Trump's executive orders get a lot of publicity, but we need to remember that one of the questions on the naturalization exam is, what is the supreme law of the land? Does anybody know what the supreme law of the land is? The Constitution, that's right. So the Constitution comes first. So the president can't sign an executive order that is contrary to the Constitution.
Well, he can sign it, but it doesn't mean, it's
Right.
not supposed to mean anything.
Right.
It's not supposed to have legal
After
effect.
that is legislation that's signed by passed by Congress and signed by a president. Then after that is agency interpretation of government, right? Like President Trump's presidencies have led us to review the basic structure of our government like no president has before. So there's the courts that interpret the law, there's the president that enforces the law, and there's Congress that writes the law. Of course, Congress now does nothing unless Trump says it's okay. So really you're talking about a Supreme Court of which includes a bunch of appointees by him. So really the president's been able to do a whole lot of things and push the boundaries like he never has before. So where was I going with that?
Birthright citizenship.
So then the agencies interpret the regulation, the statutes, and they say this is how we're going to interpret it, and then we have executive orders. So executive orders, when President Trump comes out and says, I'm going to create a $100,000 gold card or $1 million gold card, or I'm going to create a $100,000 fee you have to pay in order to sponsor someone for an employment-based visa. Don't go crazy. Don't get worried right away. Think about it. Think about can he trump the Constitution? Can he trump statute just by signing executive order? No, they're the lowest level of things. Now, the Supreme Court wants to let him do a lot of what he wants, so you have to worry about that. But in a real world, in America as it's supposed to work, the president is not supposed to be able to supersede the Constitution, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, as my brothers know, right? So think about that. And so birthright citizenship is one of those things he's trying to do with that. Now we can skip that. So for people that want to come to the United States or people that want to get a green card, they're looking at all your social media now. Now we think for the Muslims, we know that they always were looking at our social media. But now they're looking at everybody's social media and they're actually saying it out loud, right? So.
And you actually have to write every Twitter handle, every email, every social media, Instagram thing, every.
And if you don't, they'll deny your case.
Yeah, you have to disclose it. It's crazy.
So the president, he's slow walking all the diversity cases. He has declared that he's not allowing any refugees in here for the next 3 years. You know, historically we allow in 100, 120,000 refugees every year. The United States, Trump says 0. And one thing that a lot of people will say, Jim, when I come through the border, if I get stuck, can I call you? And the answer to that is no. They have a ton of discretion who they let in the United States. If you're a U.S. citizen, they have to let you in. But everyone else, I've been saying since January 19th, if you are not a U.S. citizen, not leave the United States unless you're prepared to stay out of the United States for 6 to 12 months, because I can't guarantee that you will be allowed back in. I'll say it one more time. If you're not a U.S. citizen, then you should not leave the United States. So let's think about this. And I don't mean to say this because I was right, but starting on January, I said, if you have an H-1B visa, you shouldn't leave the United States to go get it stamped. You never know if you're going to be allowed back in. Last Friday night, Trump says we're going to start charging everybody $100,000. So we had all these H-1B holders who had to come running back to the United States because they were scared they weren't going to get into the United States unless they paid Trump $100,000. It's a racket.
It was chaos, complete
And
chaos.
that's on purpose.
Yes.
One thing that got a lot of publicity but hasn't lately is the alien registration. So if you're in the United States and you're not a U.S. citizen, you're supposed to tell them your address and let them know where you are. If you're here out of status, you were supposed to register in the alien registry. They want to cut down on student visas, and right now if you come on a student visa, you're able to stay for duration of status as long as you're here. You can keep going, and you keep going to class, you can maintain your status. They want to start making it, you get 4 years, graduate or not, get out. Okay, so
yeah, this is scary because removal is scary enough. just having to go to an immigration judge and having an immigration judge decide if you're able to stay in the United States or not, that's scary, okay? Now they're trying to do a lot more expedited removal. So within certain restrictions, if you're within the border, a certain number of miles from the border, in the country a short period of time.
That's the old way.
Yes, in violation, right, that was the old way. Now they're doing it even much harder.
Anywhere in the U.S.
Yeah, they're not limiting it to the border. They're saying if you have unauthorized stay and you did not leave the United States, now we don't have to give you all the processes that we would have given you. Now we're just going to remove you from, here's your ticket. You got to pay for your ticket out of the country.
If you've been here less than 2 years. So expedited removal is historically within 50 miles of the border. If they catch you within 2 weeks of arrival, they don't have to show you to a judge. Now they're saying if they catch you anywhere in the United States and you can't show that you've been here less than 2 years or more than 2 years, then you don't get to see a judge. And it's not like immigration courts, all these great protections, but it's the minimal protection that you get, right?
But there are defenses you can raise there, like we talked about asylum, right? So there are defenses that you may be entitled to raise there, and you also have to make sure that the government met its burden to remove you, right? That there are things that have to happen in immigration court to be removed.
So we talked about the regulation of student speech. H-1Bs, they're trying to add fees, make it harder, protect the American workers, make America great again. One thing that I don't know that we have a slide for, okay, here it is. So this is a big one.
Yeah,
On February 20th, they came out with a memo, and in that memo it says, oh, Monty, they need the check.
Oh, I have it right here. Sorry. You go ahead.
Check people will bring you the check right now, inshallah. Okay, so on February 28th, they issued a rule that said, this will sound strange. This might sound strange for you guys. Okay, so I've been doing green cards for a really long time, marriage-based green card cases, and you might be surprised to know that historically, if you're in the United States and you're out of status,
no, I didn't bring
and you marry a U.S. citizen, remember that, Amani, we can hear you with the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
So if you're in the United States and you marry a U.S. citizen, remember you could be here for 20 years, but you marry a U.S. citizen, if you get approved, you get a green card, right? Well, what happens if you got denied? Well, historically, they would just let you go and off you would go. Well, now Trump says that if you apply for an immigration benefit and you get denied, you are going to deportation. So they have quotas that they have to meet. They want to deport like 10,000 people a day. This is their quota. And they just pulled this number out of thin air, and they want to hit these numbers. So they know that there's lots of people that apply for immigration benefits that get put into deportation, and that's where they can go find them if they need to hit their numbers. So they're trying to keep Trump and Stephen Miller happy by finding immigrants wherever they can. So if you apply for a green card, remember I said a lot of people think that if they apply, they'll just take their chance and see if it gets approved. Well, now if you get denied, you get put into deportation, and then that's more stressful. You might get detained. You might get deported. It's really a whole new ballgame with immigration. All right, we're almost to the slides, or almost to the questions. We talked about that.
No, but I'm talking.
And then the last thing just came out last week is that they are making the naturalization test harder. So one of the brothers asked me, Jim, my wife has her green card. She's eligible for citizenship. Should she apply now? And so on October 20th, they're putting in a new test. So right now, if you want to become a U.S. citizen, you have to study 100 questions. They ask you 10, and you have to get 6 right. Well, they think that's too easy. They think citizenship is too easy. So they're making the test harder. They're increasing it from 100 questions you have to study to 128. Those 28 that they're adding are all a lot harder. The officers will probably be asking more of those hard questions, and most importantly, you have to answer 12 right out of 20 instead of 6 out of 10. So if you're eligible, or if you know someone who is eligible, and they're ready to go, because they'll probably get their interview in about 3 or 4 months, they should apply before October 20th, not after, because that's when the new test goes into effect, unless somebody sues over it, okay? So that's the gist of the kinds of things that we wanted to tell you guys. I just want to tell you real quickly, if you don't get your questions answered today, I have a YouTube channel. So I've been making YouTube videos for 10 years, and I answer almost every question I can think of. Somebody asks me a question, I make a video. Someone asks me a question, I make a video. So I have like 2,000 videos on that YouTube channel. If you need us, if your case has been delayed, or if USCIS makes a mistake, we will sue them for you. It's literally my favorite thing to do. The Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group. It's called Immigrant Home. You can go in there. There's 15,000 people in there talking about the immigration process. You can ask questions. So you can post that in Immigrant Home. You can post it anonymously. And then I do a show 3 or 4 times. Did you give them the check? Yeah, okay. I do a show 3 or 4 times a week on YouTube. It's an hour and a half long, and it's just people calling and asking me immigration questions. So Amani says, what do you do all day? I just make videos. I talk about immigration. I handle cases, right? So, but that's mostly what I do. And then we have a TikTok channel. You can follow us on TikTok. We got lots of followers there. That's me being silly on my TikTok channel, doing immigration stuff. Thank you for your time. We're ready for questions. Oh, wait, Adel, what are we doing for questions? Okay, we're good. The other thing is, I just want to tell you a real quick story about what I've spent my September doing, okay? So you guys might have heard that there was an immigration raid at a Chinese buffet in St. Charles called Golden Apple. Well, Golden Apple had, among all of its employees, 10 people from Indonesia. And I ended up representing all 10 of them, and they all had pending asylum cases, okay? Some of them had used real lawyers and had strong asylum cases. Some of them had used one of those notarios, a fake lawyer, a fake form filler, and I swear to God, what they put in their asylum application is, why do you fear going back to Indonesia? Hindu. That's all that it said. No statement, no facts, no nothing. Now, they got to work hard off that bare bones application, but that came back to bite them on their case. So that case went fast. Those people all got denied bond, and they're leaving the United States in the next week or two. So it is a really scary time, a really fast time. They use detention to scare you and say, you're going to sit in jail for the next 4 or 5 months. Do you want to really try to fight your asylum case? And the judge that these guys were assigned to, do you know what his approval rate was for asylum? 4%. So out of 100 cases that he sees for asylum, he only approves 4. So it is a scary time. It's a very different time. A lot of people say to us, oh, Jim and Amani, you must be so busy right now. We are busy, but it's not a fun kind of busy. It's not.
Jamie?
Huh?
Is he Jamie?
His name might be. I'm not going to say it because we're on YouTube, but.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't say that.
I don't want to say his name, but yeah. So in any event, it's a tough time to be an immigrant. It's a tough time to be out of status. It's a tough time to be navigating this system right now. So
I was just going to say, we can do 10 minutes of questions.
Perfect.
And move for dinner. So if anybody has any questions,
Jahan.
you can ask right now or one-on-one later.
You hear about ICE picking people off the street because of skin color or something.
Right. Supreme Court said that's okay.
Right. And I have 2 questions to ask. Ordinarily, when someone approaches you to tell you you did something wrong, they have to show you a badge.
Right.
They don't show a badge.
And they wear masks.
And they have a mask. In a situation like that, what do you do? So that's
So,
one.
I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen. Or say if I'm a lawful permanent resident, I'm a lawful permanent resident. I will talk to you, but do not touch me. Do not. Just be calm. Do not touch them. If you touch them, they'll arrest you. So definitely don't touch them.
Ask for any paperwork.
Yeah.
Ask to speak to an
Do
attorney.
you have a warrant?
Yes.
Am I free to go?
What is your paperwork that you have? Is this my name? Sometimes it's the wrong person. So ask for clarification, staying calm, make eye contact, figure out who these people are to the extent you can. What's your name? Do not get physical. I mean,
If they come to your house, they can't come in without a warrant. So, and it has to be a warrant signed by a judge. So ask
but
to
if
see the
you're on
warrant.
the street, that's the problem.
Right.
You're walking. They wait for you to get in your car. They wait for you to walk out.
Yeah, they're all
So-
over Chicago right now in D.C. And we are getting calls from people who just, like I said, they went down the wrong corner in Washington. They ran into the ICE checkpoint, and now they're into deportation.
The other thing is about the social networks. If you put something, they said if you put any criticism of Israel, and I don't know what is criticism of Israel
Right.
necessarily, that they can take your passport.
Again, so that's another thing that I think is going to be completely illegal. So that was another announcement from Rubio that if you criticize Israel or if they don't like what you're saying about Trump on social media, they can refuse to issue you a passport. That'll get challenged in court. That's not going to last.
But it is scary.
Yeah.
It is scary, and we have to be very careful what we say and protect ourselves because we are not like them, right? I mean, many of us were not born here, so it is different, and so you have to be careful. You have to be careful what you say. I mean, free speech used to exist in this country, and now students can't walk around and say certain things, okay? So this is a different world that we're in.
Real quick, one of the things that got a lot of publicity was the denaturalization stuff. I would say for the most part, if you're a U.S. citizen, you don't need to be walking around worrying that they're going to take away your citizenship, okay? I do think they're going to start looking at some cases. I do think that one thing that always worried me about people that get their citizenship through asylum is they think, well, now I'm a citizen, now I can go back to my home country. So that, I think, is an area where they might start going after people for denaturalization. But generally, denaturalization is because you were engaged in criminal activity at or before the time that you became a citizen and you didn't disclose it. So it's going to be really hard for them to denaturalize. They actually have to file a lawsuit in federal court, and you get a trial to denaturalize. Like, in my whole life, I've only had 2 denaturalization cases. The government won both of them, but it's very rare, and I think it's getting a lot more publicity than it actually is warranted, yes.
Jim, following up on the sister's question, you have seen all those videos
Bless you.
where the ICE people, they shove you,
Yeah.
they push you, they don't want to listen to you. So even if you say, I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm a U.S. citizen,
Yeah.
can they arrest you?
They can.
They have.
They have. It's not legal. There's a lawsuit that just got filed Friday for $50 million for somebody, a U.S. citizen that was assaulted by ICE. So, I mean, they don't care. They have unlimited resources now. They have the biggest budget of any law enforcement agency in the history of the world.
Would that help if the person who is being afraid of all these people
Yeah.
carry a copy of the
Passport? Yeah, I would, for sure.
Or the naturalization certificate.
Would they still arrest them?
Well, I think they would. I think if calmer heads, it depends how calm the situation is. So the most thing you would want to do is make the temperature higher. You want to make the temperature lower. So I would talk slowly. I would say, I have a copy of my passport on my, and I know this is easy for me to say. I'm the white guy. I'm the white guy. So I don't mean to discount anyone's fear at all, right? But yeah, I would say, I have a copy of my passport. I have a copy of my green card. I've been living here since 2020 or 2000, and I have every legal status, and just try to calm them down.
I want to say one quick thing about passports. Passports expire. Naturalization certificates do not. So a copy of your naturalization certificate is much more legally significant than a passport that can expire. So you should carry a picture of both, okay? Because the naturalization certificate proves that you're a U.S. citizen.
Or if you're born here, your birth certificate.
Right, okay.
Way in the back.
Last question.
Oh, yeah.
Would that scare them if they say, I got a lawyer,
Yeah.
trust me, I'm a U.S. citizen?
Yeah, tell them. But
Tell 'em, I
again,
want to
you
talk
don't-
to my lawyer.
You don't
Yeah.
want to. You don't want to. It depends what's going on in the situation,
yeah.
right? So first, let things calm down. Yep.
So this is the question for a lot of these Indian students that I have talked to. They seem to think, and I just need to hear.
Sure.
So on this H-1B,
Right.
they think it's the 100,000 applies for the ones who are coming from India,
Right.
not the ones who are already here and get an H-1B. So
Nobody knows yet, brother. Nobody knows
it
yet.
just
He
happened.
just made this up on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
So it didn't go through the regular process. It's not part of the law. The law doesn't say that they can. That the law doesn't say that the president gets to add a $100,000 fee. So I would say to all those people, keep doing what you're doing. Stay on OPT. Still look for a job. There will be more clarity before the March. They can't apply for H-1Bs until March anyway. So just keep doing it and paying attention to what the courts say.
I want to put Anas on the spot. He had a friend who was flying, who's got pulled up, and they took his phone, and they went through his phone, and they found out that he may or may not have been working
Sure.
under the table.
Sure.
somewhere.
Oh, that happens all the time. Yeah. So.
So you want to leave it a case?
Yeah, they took his phone. He was not working. He just sent someone.
So wait, let's just kind of hold just wait real quick. So did he have a visa in the United States? What kind of a visa did he have? He had an F1 visa. So he went back home and got a new stamp, or went back home and saw his family, and he flew back to the United States, and they said, let us see your phone. And in the phone, they saw some things that made them argue that he had been working without permission.
No, someone, one of his friend asked him, do you know someone who can give him a cash job? And he said, go talk to that particular store. That's it.
Oh.
Because he told.
Yeah. So again, this is a reason why F1 students shouldn't go back in the middle of their studies. I hate to say it, but they shouldn't go back, because every interaction is a problem, a potential problem. Every interaction is a potential scrutiny, and they have the most discretion, and there's nothing anybody can do to challenge it. When that guy got expedited removal, now he can't come back for 5 years. Yeah. Yes.
Are there any possible, like, justifiable reasons or factors that they can denaturalize you once you hit U.S. citizen?
Yeah, so the main way most people get denaturalized, almost every single one. So there's a question on the N400 that asks, how many people here have ever seen an N400? And have you ever seen, there's a question on there that asks, have you ever committed a crime or offense that they did not arrest you for? Have you ever committed a crime or offense for which you've not been arrested? Now, who would ever say yes? No one. No one would ever say yes. And it took me a while to figure out why that question's on there. Okay, so the denaturalization case that I had, this fellow marked no like every other smart person on his N400. He became a U.S. citizen. Later, like 3 or 4 years later, he pled guilty to a crime. That crime had happened, and they said, no, you're Josef, and they said, no, you're Josef Nietzsche, and you're from Berlin, and you worked in Auschwitz, right? So unless you're not who you say you were, unless you committed lots of crimes that you never disclosed, most likely they're never going to denaturalize people. Yes?
I have a question about sponsoring family.
Okay.
So I know you have to make a certain amount of money in order to sponsor your mom. In my case, I want to sponsor my mom.
Yep.
So I have a family of 7, so I have to make a certain amount.
Right.
Because each head is something amount. So is my mom can use her income back home with my sponsor herself?
We almost never do that. No, we don't usually do that. No. Now, you could, somebody else in your household could. Like if you have a spouse, you could use their income with yours. Okay? But usually we don't use the immigrant's income to sponsor them.
It's like a supplement, whatever, like, let's say
No,
you have to make.
not if you want her to come. If you want to spend 8 months arguing with them and trying to get her here, you try to use her income. If you don't make enough in each of the last 3 years, which would be you plus your family of 7 plus her, so that's $30,000 plus $5,500 for each family member, so that's a lot of money. They will not consider her money because she won't be making that money once she comes to the United States. So you need to find someone else who says, if grandma gets government benefits and grandma doesn't pay them back and you don't pay them back, then I, Jim, will pay them back.
So
right?
that's the co-sponsor.
That's the
You need a
co-sponsor.
co-sponsor.
But he can get co-sponsor, yes.
Yeah, that's
you
what,
can
that's
ask
what
for a
Monica was
co-sponsor,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah, don't mess with mom's income.
Yeah.
Just find a rich co-sponsor.
With someone who makes a lot of money and has
No,
very few
not
kids.
7 kids or 6 kids.
You don't have to be a relative, just a friend.
That's right. It could be a friend, yeah.
My man knows.
I mean, but it's a lot to ask of someone because it's a legal contract that they would sign with the U.S. government.
I wouldn't sign it.
Yeah. Yeah, don't ask Jim.
Yeah, money won't let me sign it. Yes, sister. Of course, sure. Sure. Yes,
Maybe one or two more questions and we'll break for dinner before the show.
yes, brother.
Green card holder goes out of USA and returns after 2 weeks. Will he be allowed or he will be?
So, again, I can't guarantee that he won't have a problem. So let's just take this example. Okay. So another slide that I need to add is Donald Trump and the people running USCIS think that Joe Biden was giving out immigration benefits like candy, right? Like candy. Like they were letting people get their green cards without an interview. So they might have the squirreliest marriage of all, but we're going to go ahead and give them the green card. Well, so what that means is, and they think that they were giving green cards to people with criminal matters, right? So what that means is that they are viewing your re-entry into the United States as a green card holder as an opportunity to relitigate whether or not you should have ever gotten that green card in the first place. So everyone says, yeah, just for 2 weeks, I'll just be right back. Yeah. Well, you have a crime, you have a long period of overstay, you have something strange about your identity, you have something that's in your past that if it had come out when you applied for your green card, you wouldn't have got it, then don't take that 2-week trip. If you have something totally clean, I would say, I would still tell you not to go. But if you have to go and you got your case based on marriage, bring your spouse. Because if you don't bring your spouse, they're grabbing your phone and they're going to cause all kinds of trouble. It's 2 months,
2 months, exactly.
2 months, 6 months, it doesn't matter. What we're talking about, what we're concerned about is the interaction with Krabby Patty immigration officer, CBP officer in Miami who's looking for people from Pakistan or wherever to say expedited removal or I'm going to put you in deportation.
Or you got to go back home till I figure this out. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about you.
One last question here.
Yeah, I'm asking you about diversity visa.
Diversity visa, yes.
Yeah, I have some friend of mine. I'm from Sudan.
Yeah.
He has been selected.
Yep.
That's great.
2025.
Well, it was, except for.
But they got blocked by Trump decision that
Right.
say
Oh, right.
So if you email me, I have a friend every year. He's been filing lawsuits for those people. So people that get selected in the diversity visa, but Trump's ban won't let them come. So I don't know what he's doing right now. I know there's nothing I can do about that. But if you want me to connect your friends to that attorney, I can.
okay.
Yeah. 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 In the back.
What can we do if you are a victim of a criminal activity?
If you're a victim of criminal activity and you're afraid to call the police because of ICE,
No. Actually, my friend, he was shot.
okay.
So he went to the judge. He did his.
He helped. He's a witness to help with the prosecution. Yeah. So there's a thing called a U visa. A U visa is available for people who are in the United States, people who entered without inspection, people who overstayed their visas, sort of in that way like an immediate relative. If the prosecutor or the police are willing to write a detailed letter about how your friend helped prosecute this scumbag criminal, then the person can apply for a U visa. There's a cap on them, there's a limit, it's slow, but eventually the person could get a green card.
All right, I think we should
Yeah, we'll stop with that.
break for dinner. Isha, maybe a little bit late if it's okay. If you guys want to eat,
Yeah.
have some time. So we'll do maybe Isha at 8:45.
Jim, what about the stuff we have? Let's get
Oh
those
yeah,
out.
and we have a bunch of stuff here, pens and phone, or
Yeah, you want to pass that out?
yeah.
You pass that out to people.
I didn't want to just.
Yeah, please. Yeah, people can take this. People can take this if they like. And then we have some pens. Yeah. People can just take what they like. Yep. Notes. And here's a pen. Yeah, there's information. Are there business cards in there? I don't know. Here are pens too. So just grab whatever you like. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, here's some business cards too. Yeah. Here you go. Yep. Perfect. Yep. I don't know what this is. Oh, know your rights in English. Okay, thank you. Oh, here's some know your rights cards too. You can put those in your sheet. Yeah, perfect. Is there anything else in there? More post-it notes? Yeah. We can put some. People can take them. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Oh yeah. I can't turn it off.
You have the.
I had to. How do you turn it off?
Just have to keep it. Mexican